Real-time or asynchronous? A while ago, I was really struggling with this. When to choose what. This is now even a bigger question. I see everybody just keeps mumbling around this concept, supposedly because the calls are increasing constantly, right? So even more important, right? So you cannot keep everything in sync, or you can, right? But then there's the other party arguing, saying that if there's a need of immediate response, yes, hell yeah, I want to do a real-time call, right? Synchronous. So get this wrong, and your integration landscape becomes a performance nightmare. And if done right, there's still no guarantee, but at least it'll not be a nightmare anymore, right? So let's quickly look at um, three of two these two, and then look at the deciding criteria, right? So give me 1 second. Okay, real time. So what does real time means? The client waits for an immediate response. So the important part here is that the client waits, right? Immediately, right? Unlike this example, which shows asynchronous, in case of synchronous, the client actually waits until you confirm that the job is done and give them the response back, right? So think API calls, OData, on-demand checks, right? So where does it fit? This fits where there's an API trigger to a iFlow to S4 HANA. Then request reply is another good example for CI. Typical use cases: availability check, pricing, credit check, tax simulation. All of these are pretty good fits for a synchronous call. So what are the pros? Pros is instant, simple for consumers. Cons is, of course, it is very tightly coupled, performance and timeout risks, right? So conclusion: real time gives speed but demands stability. Now, async. Sender drops a message and moves on, right? So you get a call similar to the previous one, but in this case, you don't wait for the response, right? I mean, the sender or the caller or the application does not wait for a response back. It just gets an instant ACK or NAC, which is acknowledgement or negative acknowledgement, and then just moves on, right? It does not wait for a response back. In some cases, a response may not be required. In cases it is required, it will be via a separate call by the receiver in this case. So where does cloud integration fits here? Examples are events from AEM or Kafka to CI, IDocs, CSV batch to CI to S4, JMS queues wherever that is used, right? So, and what are the pros? Pros is decoupling or loose coupling. You can process high volume with this approach. There's no direct impact to the system. It's much more resilient pattern. What are the cons? Cons is in cases where you need an immediate response, this may not be a good option. Um, and then since the applications are decoupled, the messages themselves are decoupled, the request and response, it requires a correlation, right? So what is the conclusion? Async gives us scalability and reliability, right? But of course, it doesn't give us the immediate response back. Now, when to choose what? If if you have a scenario where, for example, you have a portal and user will wait for something, then of course you'll need to use a sync call. You need instant confirmation. You need a sync call. Volume is low to medium. You can use a sync call, although it's still async is recommended in such cases as well. Use async when there's a high volume, example, orders, invoices, 3PL updates. System availability is varied. You need a guaranteed delivery, right? And what's our architect's rule is if the business doesn't need an instance response, go async. So that's a base fundamental that we are also using these days. So let's adopt that principle.